Heads up, everybody! It's showtime!
Grab shell, dude!
Ready?
Ready!
Oh boy, oh boy! Let's go!
Look it.
You got a problem, buddy? Do you?
Where is my super suit?
Spit that out right now!
You mean you don't like me?
So long, partner.
Good morning, everybody. I am going to talk about a biopsychosocial approach in professional psychology. Why would we take this approach? This is for the course 6104, a biopsychosocial approach to counseling, and my name is Maria de Lourdes Asmod Flores. Let's start. Okay, so let's start defining what biopsychosocial BPS is. What is that word? Biopsychosocial BPS is an integration of biological bio plus psychological psycho plus social factors. Problems, assessment, intervention, outcomes, and prevention in counseling psychology are an integration of these factors. Dr. Barb Bryden. The BPS approach is a comprehensive, integrative framework for understanding human development, health, and functioning. Most counseling problems represent interconnected web or system of contributing factors that require coordinated solutions and strategies for at least as many different angles. This approach, as we can see in the picture, interconnects biological, psychological, and social factors to get to a common purpose that is health. Okay, so let's talk about the factors that the BPS considers. We have biological factors. Those factors deal with studying the physiological causes of the disease at their base, such as genetic issues, low immunity, hormones, and physical trauma, to name a few. We have psychological factors. Those suggest that there might be some mental conditions that contribute to the manifestation of the illness, affecting the patient's health directly or indirectly, such as depression, addiction, low self-esteem, negative thinking, etc. And we have social factors. Thus refers to the environment that surrounds the patient. This aspect analyzes the disease from a sociological point of view and determines what external factors may have influenced the manifestation of the illness in the patient, like religion, economic background, primary relationships, culture and environment, etc. So where did all of this start? Let's look back a bit. In 1977, psychiatrist George L. Engel called for the need for a new medical model. He argued that medicine in general and psychiatry in particular ought to shift from a biomedical perspective of disease to a biopsychosocial perspective on health. He argued that the biomedical perspective was too reductionistic and that a holistic perspective grounded in general systems theory was necessary to address health-related issues. The World Health Organization seems to agree with Engel's view, in that it defines its central mission as providing well-being, which is defined as an overall state of health and happiness. I know I mentioned it before, but we can see a brief description of the model in this slide, taking on consideration the biological component that seeks to understand how the cause of the illness stems from the functioning of the individual's body. Its psychological component looks for potential psychological causes for a health problem such as lack of self-control, emotional turmoil, and negative thinking. And its social part investigates how different social factors, such such as socioeconomic status, culture, technology, and religion can influence health. Okay, so let's take a look before Engel came up with this idea to see if the idea was floating in the air. The best known approach to conceptualizing the prioritization of human needs is Maslow's hierarchy of human needs model. He considered the 4 lowest levels of needs: physiological, safety, love, esteem, to be deficiency needs, and only when they are met can the individual move up the hierarchy and establish new priorities for personal growth. Maslow's model is widely considered useful for categorizing different types of needs and arranging their priority, especially when patients have limited insight into their nature and interrelationship of the problems. It can be very helpful for patients and therapists to use it for conceptualizing the relationship among the problems, needs, resources, and strengths. Can you see some similarities or differences? Here we can understand better what I was saying before. In this slide, we can see the similarities or differences between both models. As we can see, the biopsychosocial model integrates all levels of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, getting into the point when all the steps are covered, the person will reach self-sufficiency, authenticity, self-actualization, and is exactly what we want to reach with the BPS model. But that wasn't at all. It wasn't just Maslow or Engel who looked into the same idea approaching the BPS. In the 1950s, Roy Rinker identified the key. Biopsychosocial advocates really seek eclectic freedom, the ability to individualize treatment to the patient, which has come to mean, in practice, being allowed to do whatever one wants to do. He describes it like going to the restaurant and getting a list of ingredients rather than a recipe. Another alternative comes from Karl Jaspers, who determined the strengths and weaknesses of theories rather than advocating one or the other method. And Osler, he argued that the physician's role was to treat disease in the body while attending to the person who has the disease. Where disease is present, one treats the body. Where disease exists, one attends to the human being as a person. For example, some patients have symptoms or signs but no disease. It's like having a cough rather than pneumonia. This approach has all the strengths and none of the weaknesses of the biopsychosocial method. And then, the biopsychosocial model calls for expanding the number of types of habits to be consciously learned and objectively monitored to maintain the centrality of the patient. The physician is, in some ways, like a musical instrument that needs to be calibrated, tuned, and adjusted to perform adequately. Their skills should be judged on their ability to produce greater health or to relieve the patient's suffering, whether they include creating an adequate emotional tone, gathering an accurate history, or distinguishing between what the patient needs and wants. Okay, so we have all of this information, but what can we do to make this work? It's all about creating trust. A person is going to start trusting you if you treat them with cordiality, optimism, and good humor, right? Cultivating curiosity. Be an open-minded person and get ready to expect the unexpected. Recognizing bias is so important. We should learn how our decisions might be biased by the race and sex of the patient. We have to educate our emotions. We need to have tolerance of uncertainty. Using informed intuition. Intuition can later be traced to a set concrete observations about the patient. You follow it. Communicating clinical evidence. We should communicate in terms that the patient can understand, in small digestible pieces at a rate at which it can be assimilated. Okay, so why should we use this approach? One of the challenges of effective and meaningful communication in this context is being mindful of our similarities and differences. Awareness of differences can help to overcome communication challenges within our own field, as well as when we seek to communicate and collaborate with our colleagues in other medical disciplines. To some of us, it is obvious that biological, psychological, and social factors are in reality integrated. From a psychological perspective, mentalizing includes self-awareness. Knowing what you are feeling is a prerequisite for intentional emotion self-regulation. Therapies such as mentalization-based therapy, emotion-focused therapy, and cognitive behavioral therapy all benefit from and seek to promote self-awareness. The biopsychosocial model presumes that it's important to handle the three together as growing body. As a psychologist, we are in the business of helping people to change their behaviors, to replace all habitual ways of being with more helpful ones, to reduce patterns of stress, anxiety, and anger, to grow patience, calmness, and joy. In a sense, it's like helping people to rewire their brains. In order to make any kind of change, we need to carve out new pathways in our brain to take over the old pathways that are no longer serving us. And something very important here is apply it to yourself before others. You can get a master's degree in anything you want, like a counsel in psychology. But where do you go to study yourself? You are the one subject that, if comprehended on a master's level, has the greatest potential to affect your long-term happiness and success. Just imagine the confidence you will feel when you finally know who you are, what and why. Start loving yourself and just start asking yourself who I am, who I want to be. But what does it mean to be self-aware? It's understanding your personality, behavior, habits, emotional reactions, motivations, and thought processes. Having more self-knowledge not only helps us make better choices, but also helps us understand our reactions to others. It includes such things as your core beliefs about yourself and life, your strengths and weaknesses, your fears and passions, what you believe about God, what you want in a relationship and why, your likes and dislikes. To be self-aware, we have to be in good health under 5 dimensions that the World Health Organization set as parameters. Those are physical, intellectual, emotional, social, spiritual. I'm just going to talk a little bit about each of them, okay? Physical. This one refers to the state of the body and its ability to perform bodily functions, aspects that are essential for keeping the body in the best condition. And this is very simple. It's like eating well, drink plenty of water, exercise regularly, and get enough sleep. Intellectual. This is the ability to develop skills and knowledge to enhance one's life. This helps to stimulate our creativity and improve our decision-making ability. And with this, please set realistic goals. Don't push yourself. Explore opportunity with an open mind. Be aware of the demands and expectations that others have from you. Have a positive outlook, especially when dealing with conflicts. Emotional. Our ability to accept and cope with our own feelings and emotions experienced by others is defined as emotional well-being. Emotions contribute to almost all aspects of our life, even setting course actions. For that reason, awareness and acceptance is essential for our emotional well-being. Have the ability to handle stress and seek help if needed. There's nothing wrong with it. Build a strong communication network with your family, friends, and peers. Social. Building and maintaining satisfying relationships comes naturally, but being socially accepted is also connected to our emotional well-being. That improves one's ability to interact with people, and be receptive to their ideas with an open mind. Accept and understand diverse cultural norms. Build networks with different kind of people. Adopt positive self-image. Enhance interpersonal communication skills. And the last one, spiritual. Our good health is incomplete without being spiritually healthy. Being spiritual translates to the ability and desire to seek meaning and purpose of life. This refers to our personal beliefs and values. It's more a matter of looking inwards to understand the meaning of our existence. Life as we know is a puzzle. Health dimensions are separate pieces that need to be fitted together to understand its meaning. Though we all seek a harmonious balance between the mind, body, and spirit to lead an optimal, fulfilled life, it's rarely attained totally. Our own feelings of weakness and non-acceptance of life's events cause distress in our daily life. Therefore, one needs to make efforts to understand the roles played by these dimensions, as that would help us attain good health and happiness. After watching this presentation, I can conclude that the biopsychosocial approach is ideally suited to cope with the increasing complexities of the clinical sciences, because it focuses its attention in different areas, engaging the person's three most important aspects, biological, psychological, and sociocultural, to reach what most important is, health. And don't forget to look at the BPS as a wheel. Like Dr. Barb Bryden said, the individual is at the center, and all the factors are going into him and also going out of him, affecting his surroundings. That's why the BPS is so important. And well, after all of this being said, do you agree or disagree with me? What do you think? We live in a busy world that we constantly forget about ourselves. For that reason, like Dan Gallagher said in TED Talks, slow yourself down and speed yourself up. Before we end the presentation, I just want to end it with this nice quote that I found. Watch your thoughts, they become words. Watch your words, they become actions. Watch your actions, they become habits. Watch your habits, they become character. Watch your character, it becomes your destiny. Lao Tzu. Well, we just got at the end of the presentation. Thanks for watching, everybody. This is it for me, and I hope after this presentation you are feeling that the BPS approach is the right alternative for us to use. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks again.